And she had it every night before she went to bed, which, oh, by the way, when you drink a full cup of water before you go to bed, it lowers your cortisol. A lot of women don't do that because they think it's going to make them get up and pee. Try it. You'll actually sleep better because cortisol's the real problem, not usually your bladder. In some women it is, especially if you push a small basketball through the vagina and have to deal with that. So when I talk about hormones, one of the things I found when I was biohacking my own hormones was that I could distill most of the problems that I saw in myself and in the people that I took care of down to 3 hormones. And I call them the hormonal Charlie's Angels in women. So they are estrogen, cortisol, thyroid. You want all 3 working on your team, working for you and not against you. And for the awesome, cool men who are in the audience, I call it the 3 amigos. And that is your testosterone, cortisol, and thyroid. So hormonal Charlie's Angels, certainly there's other hormones that you want to pay attention to, but if you nail these 3, this is the 80-20 rule. Have you heard of the 80-20 rule? Yes, this idea that 20% of effort yields 80% of results. And as you learn more about hormones, I don't know if any of you have this experience, but as you learn more about hormones, it can become quite dizzying, right? There's a lot to keep track of, a lot of moving parts. About 973, last time I counted. It's a lot to keep track of. Keep it astonishingly simple. Start with these 3. It is the 80%. So, a little less simple is the way that we manage these hormones. So what's shown in this slide is the Hypothalamic-Pituitary-Adrenal Axis. And the HPA is really interesting. To me, it's sort of this way that text messages get sent around your body. Unfortunately, I'm a feminist. Yay. And I studied bioengineering, but I also took a lot of women's studies classes. Any of you take women's studies classes, like in college? Hooray, yes, such a good thing. So it turns out, much to my dismay, that stress favors men. So hats off to you guys. Very happy for you. Women don't do as well when it comes to managing cortisol, when it comes to managing perceived threat. We don't do as well. One thing we do well is oxytocin. We do that a little better than men. We do telomeres a little better than men. When women get together and they connect and they call a girlfriend on the phone, or like I do every Sunday, I go jogging with a friend of mine, I go running with a friend of mine at 9 o'clock. I'm going to miss her tomorrow. When we do that, when we get together with our girlfriends and our oxytocin goes up, or when we have an orgasm, you know I'm a gynecologist, so there's more coming. Pass the salt, how's your vagina, as Eve Ensler would say. So when we have an orgasm and we get flooded with oxytocin, that lowers cortisol. So I'm giving you all these different ways that you can manage cortisol besides sitting on a cushion and meditating for 30 minutes. Most of the women who come to see me, and men as well, I see both now, I get a sense when we're talking about how to wrangle cortisol, I get a sense for what they're up for. And more often than not, when they know that I'm a yoga teacher and that I teach meditation, they'll just sort of stay right at the beginning. Listen, I'm just not going to go to a yoga class. Every time I go to yoga, I hate it. I just sit there and I'm tortured and I can't slow down my thinking. Like, that is the person who needs yoga more than anything else. But I also realize that you've got to meet people where they are, right? And sometimes that person does better with a prescription for phosphatidylserine to start. Phosphatidylserine, a fatty acid that reduces cortisol. Or I could ask that person to start having a dose of dark chocolate each day in what may be the most popular study of cortisol ever that's been shown to lower cortisol, dark chocolate. Or I'll say, how about orgasmic meditation? Have you heard of that before? It's a different kind of Sometimes they're game for that, not always. When you're stressed out of your mind, sometimes slowing down and getting back in your body and filling your tank with pleasure is really hard.